Hello there, friend. Have you ever paused to wonder why certain behaviors, like striving for perfection or keeping your emotions locked away, feel so deeply ingrained in you? Or maybe you've looked at someone close to you and marveled at how much they seem to carry on their shoulders, yet never ask for help? Well, you're not alone, and today we're diving into the heart of this mystery. Life has a way of shaping us, doesn't it? The hardships we endure don't just pass. They leave marks, both visible and invisible. These marks mold us, sometimes turning pain into profound traits that define how we navigate the world. Stoicism, a philosophy rooted in resilience and reason, teaches us to look at these traits not as burdens, but as strengths forged in the fire of adversity. In this video, or article, we're exploring 5 defining traits of people who faced great suffering and how these align with timeless Stoic wisdom. From heightened empathy that feels like both a gift and a curse, to a relentless need for control that can be both empowering and confining, each trait tells a story of survival and adaptation. By understanding these traits through the lens of Stoicism, we can learn to embrace them, find balance, and perhaps even see beauty in the scars they've left behind. So, grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's unpack this together. And hey, before we dive in, let me ask you, do any of these traits resonate with you? Or is there someone in your life you see reflected in these descriptions? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more insights into life, philosophy, and the timeless teachings of Stoicism. Let's make this journey one of reflection and growth together. 1. The power of heightened empathy. Heightened empathy is one of the 5 traits of those who have suffered too much. It means feeling the emotions of others deeply, almost as if they were your own. If you've been through a lot of pain, you might notice how easily you pick up on other people's sadness or stress, even when they try to hide it. This trait can feel like both a gift and a curse. For example, you might walk into a room and instantly sense that something is wrong, even though no one has said a word. Maybe you hear a friend speak and know, just from their tone, that they're struggling. This heightened empathy comes from your own experiences of suffering. When you've been hurt, you understand pain better than most. You don't want others to feel alone, so you notice things others might miss. But heightened empathy can be exhausting. You may find yourself taking on the emotions of everyone around you, even when you don't mean to. It can feel overwhelming to care so much, especially when you can't fix what's wrong. That's why it's important to set limits. Stoic philosophy teaches us to focus on what we can control and let go of the rest. You can't take away everyone's pain, but you can offer kindness and understanding without losing yourself. If heightened empathy feels like too much to handle, remind yourself that it's okay to take care of your own feelings too. You can't help others if you're completely drained. It's not selfish to rest or set boundaries. It's necessary. When balanced, heightened empathy is a powerful way to connect with others. It's proof that even in suffering, there's a way to turn pain into something meaningful. Heightened empathy is one of the 5 traits of those who have suffered too much. It shows your strength, but it's also a reminder to protect your own well-being. Use this gift wisely, and it can bring you closer to others while still keeping your heart at peace. 2. The struggles of hyper-independence. Hyper-independence is one of the 5 traits of those who have suffered too much. It's the habit of doing everything on your own, refusing help even when you need it. For people with hyper-independence, relying on others feels dangerous. This trait often comes from past pain, being let down, abandoned, or betrayed by people who were supposed to care for you. Over time, you may have learned to say, "I don't need anyone." If you have hyper-independence, you might insist on carrying all the groceries in one trip, even when your arms are about to give out. You might refuse to ask for help fixing something, choosing instead to struggle through it alone. On the surface, hyper-independence looks like strength, but inside, it can feel lonely and exhausting. It's like wearing armor every day, protective but heavy. Stoicism can offer guidance for those struggling with hyper-independence. Epictetus teaches us to focus on what we can control and accept help when it aligns with reason. Hyper-independence might seem like control, but it can turn into isolation. Stoic philosophy reminds us that humans are social creatures, as Marcus Aurelius wrote, we are made for one another. This doesn't mean depending on everyone, but it does mean recognizing that true strength comes from knowing when to accept help. One reason hyperindependence is so difficult is the fear of being hurt again. If you've been let down before, it's easy to think, if I don't rely on anyone, no one can hurt me. But this mindset can trap you. You miss out on the comfort and support that genuine connections bring. True independence doesn't mean shutting everyone out. It means knowing when to stand alone and when to let others in. To manage hyperindependence, start small. The next time someone offers to help, pause before saying no. Ask yourself, is this something I really need to do on my own? Letting someone lend a hand doesn't make you weak. It's an act of trust and courage. Hyperindependence is about survival, but trusting others can help you truly thrive. Hyperindependence is one of the 5 traits of those who have suffered too much. It can feel like strength, but it's also a burden. Learning to balance self-reliance with trust in others can help lighten that burden. Remember, accepting help doesn't make you less independent. It makes you human. 3. The persistent strive for perfection. The persistent strive for perfection is one of the 5 traits of those who have suffered too much. It's not just about wanting to do things well. It's the feeling that nothing you do is ever good enough. If you constantly push yourself to get everything just right, you might be stuck in this pattern. The strive for perfection often comes from a deep fear of failure or rejection. You believe that if you can just be perfect, no one will have a reason to criticize you, and you'll finally feel safe. This constant strive for perfection might show up in small ways. Maybe you rewrite messages 3 or 4 times before sending them just to make sure they sound perfect. Maybe you double-check everything you do at work because you're afraid of making a mistake. Or it might appear in bigger ways, like hesitating to start a new project because you feel you aren't ready or good enough yet. The problem with perfectionism is that it never ends. No matter how much you achieve, there's always that voice in your head saying, you could have done better. The Stoics offer valuable lessons for dealing with the strive for perfection. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that you don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you. In other words, perfection isn't the goal. Progress is. Life is messy and imperfect, and trying to control every detail only creates stress. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what is within our control, like our effort and attitude, and to let go of the rest. The persistent strive for perfection often stems from past experiences. Maybe someone in your life made you feel like you had to be perfect to be loved or accepted. Over time, this belief turned into a survival strategy. If I'm perfect, I'll be safe. But the truth is, no one can ever be perfect. Trying to reach perfection only leaves you exhausted and stuck in a cycle of self-doubt. To manage this, strive for perfection. Remind yourself that it's okay to be imperfect. Start by asking, what's the worst that can happen if this isn't perfect? The answer is much smaller than you think. Allow yourself to make mistakes. They're part of being human. Celebrate progress, not perfection, and recognize that doing your best is enough. The persistent strive for perfection is one of the 5 traits of those who have suffered too much. It can feel like a shield, protecting you from failure, but it often becomes a trap. By letting go of the need to be flawless, you free yourself to grow and enjoy life as it is, beautifully imperfect. Section 3. The persistent strive for perfection. The persistent strive for perfection is a trait many people develop when they've suffered too much. It's the constant feeling that you have to do everything flawlessly, or else you're not good enough. This trait often comes from a place of fear. Fear of failure, fear of criticism, or even fear of being rejected. For some, the strive for perfection feels like a shield against these fears, but over time, it can become a heavy weight to carry. This persistent strive for perfection shows up in everyday life. Maybe you rewrite an email 3 times, worried that a small mistake will make you look bad. Maybe you avoid starting something new, a job, a hobby, or even a relationship, because you feel you're not ready or perfect yet. While striving for excellence can be a positive thing, perfectionism often leaves you stuck, never satisfied, and always doubting yourself. No matter how hard you work, it feels like it's never enough. Stoic philosophy offers guidance for those caught in this struggle. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you." This reminds us that life is full of imperfections, and that's okay. The Stoics teach us to focus on what we can control, like putting in our best effort, and to let go of what we can't control, such as the outcome. Perfection is not the goal. Progress is. The persistent strive for perfection often stems from experiences in the past. Maybe someone important in your life made you feel like you had to earn love or respect by being perfect. Over time, you may have started to believe that perfection is the only way to be accepted. But no one can be perfect, and trying to be flawless only leads to exhaustion and frustration. To manage the strive for perfection, try letting go of the need for everything to be flawless. Start with small steps, allow yourself to make a mistake, and see that the world doesn't fall apart. Ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen if this isn't perfect? Most of the time, the answer is much less scary than it seems. Celebrate progress, no matter how small, and remind yourself that doing your best is enough. The persistent strive for perfection can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to control you. By focusing on progress and letting go of unrealistic expectations, you can find peace and enjoy life as it is, messy, imperfect, and beautiful in its own way. 4. Emotional guarding and its hidden struggles. Emotional guarding is one of the 5 traits of those who have suffered too much. It's the habit of keeping your feelings locked away, building walls to protect yourself from being hurt again. If you find it hard to open up to others, even those close to you, emotional guarding might be part of your daily life. It feels safer to keep everything inside than to risk letting someone in and getting hurt. The struggles of emotional guarding often show up in simple, everyday moments. You might find yourself saying, "I'm fine," when you're really not. Or you may change the subject when someone asks how you're feeling. You've learned to smile even when you're breaking inside. Emotional guarding becomes a defense mechanism, a way to avoid pain by keeping others at a distance. But while these walls protect you, they also keep out the love and connection you deeply crave. This emotional guarding often comes from past experiences of betrayal, rejection, or being hurt when you were vulnerable. Maybe you once trusted someone with your feelings, and they dismissed or used them against you. Over time, you might have decided it's better to stay guarded than to take that risk again. But as Stoicism reminds us, fear of pain shouldn't control us. Marcus Aurelius teaches, don't let the actions of others disturb your peace. Emotional guarding might feel like peace, but it's really isolation. Breaking free from emotional guarding takes courage. Start small. Share one thought or feeling with someone you trust. Notice that opening up doesn't always lead to hurt. Let yourself experience the relief and connection that comes from being seen and understood. Stoic philosophy encourages us to focus on what's in our control. We can't predict how others will respond, but we can choose to be open and true to ourselves. Emotional guarding is one of the 5 traits of those who have suffered too much. While it may feel like protection, it can also become a prison. By slowly letting your walls down, you allow room for genuine connection and healing. Remember, vulnerability isn't a weakness, it's a sign of strength and self-trust. 5. The desire for control and its challenges. The desire for control is one of the 5 traits of those who have suffered too much. It's the need to make sure everything goes as planned, to feel safe and avoid chaos. For people with this trait, control can feel like a lifeline, a way to keep the world from crumbling around them. But over time, the desire for control can become a heavy burden, creating more stress than security. The challenges of the desire for control show up in everyday life. You might find yourself triple-checking your schedule, rereading emails, or feeling anxious when plans change unexpectedly. At work, you may struggle to delegate tasks because you believe no one else will do them as well as you. At home, even small disruptions can feel overwhelming. This constant need for control comes from a fear of being powerless, often rooted in past experiences where things went wrong and you couldn't stop it. Stoicism offers a powerful antidote to the desire for control. Epictetus taught, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not." This simple truth reminds us that no matter how hard we try, we can't control everything. The weather, other people's actions, and even unexpected events are beyond our influence. The Stoics encourage us to focus on what we can control, our thoughts, actions, and attitudes, while accepting the rest with grace. The desire for control isn't inherently bad. It's natural to want to feel secure and prepared. But when it takes over, it can prevent you from enjoying life's spontaneity and surprises. Think about it. How often have you missed out on joy because you were too busy worrying about every little detail? Stoicism invites us to let go of this rigid grip and trust that some things will work out, even without our interference. To manage the challenges of the desire for control, start small. The next time something doesn't go as planned, pause and ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Practice letting go in low-stakes situations, like allowing someone else to take the lead on a group project, or going with the flow when plans change. Over time, you'll find that loosening your grip doesn't bring chaos. Instead, it brings freedom. The desire for control is one of the 5 traits of those who have suffered too much. While it can feel like a source of stability, it often creates unnecessary stress. By focusing on what you can control and letting go of what you can't, you can find a sense of peace. Remember, true strength lies not in controlling everything, but in knowing when to let go. Dear friend, so here we are. We've journeyed through the 5 traits of those who have suffered too much: heightened empathy, hyper-independence, the persistent strive for perfection, emotional guarding, and the desire for control. Each of these traits is a testament to your strength and resilience, forged in the fires of adversity. They are not flaws, but reflections of the battles you've fought and survived. Yet, as we've seen, these traits can also weigh you down. Heightened empathy can leave you emotionally drained, hyper-independence can isolate you, and the strive for perfection can rob you of joy. Emotional guarding can keep you from meaningful connections, while the desire for control can create stress and limit your freedom. The key is to acknowledge these traits, honor their origins, and gently guide them into balance. Stoicism teaches us that our greatest strength lies in our ability to adapt, reflect, and grow. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. These traits, born from your struggles, can become your teachers. They offer you the chance to grow, to heal, and to live more fully. Dear friend, your past may have shaped you, but it doesn't have to define you. You've already shown incredible courage and resilience just by being here, reading, and reflecting on these ideas. Now is the time to take the next step, to let go of the weight you've been carrying and to embrace the life you deserve. Remember, you are not alone in this journey. If these words have resonated with you, I encourage you to take a moment to reflect. Which of these traits do you see in yourself? How can you begin to transform them from burdens into strengths? Share your thoughts below. I'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights and reflections on how to navigate life with the wisdom of Stoicism. You've come this far, friend. Now, let's walk forward together.